Good day, everybody. Welcome to today's video. I'm going to show you guys how to set up the camshaft position sensor. If you've ever been in a situation where you accidentally removed it, and then you got to know how to put it back in, because if it's not set up right, then the relationship between the crank sensor and the camshaft position sensor is not going to read right, and it's going to cause you all sorts of issues. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. So let's get started. This isn't really relevant right now, but I want to show you. This is the schematic for my Jeep. And you can see right here, 5-volt supply coming from the computer, goes to the crankshaft position sensor and to the camshaft position sensor. And then both sensor grounds, of course, you can see are connected. And then the signal wires then go back to the computer. The camshaft position sensor itself is very simple. A couple screws on top, and then this top piece just pulls out. So if you ever need to replace the camshaft position sensor, it's just buying this and bolting it on. Nothing too fancy, but however, some applications, whatever reason, you may have removed this. One of the things you got to do before we actually go about and do it is that it's got to be set on the compression stroke at number 1, top dead center. So I got the valve cover off for easier access, but you can put your finger over the hole too while you crank the engine over. And then once you get to top dead center, and you got to know you're at top dead center because you come over to your balancer here, and hopefully I can pick that up. There's a little hole right there, a little notch. And it's got to line up with that mark right there. Now, if you go past, you can't turn it back. You can only turn to this mark to get it set up perfectly. Now, I'm going to show you, because once you get it set up like that, I'm going to loosen the bolt, and I should be able to stick a wire through there and lock it when I take it out. Now, when I talk about putting a wire through it, I'm going to show you on the spare one right here, and that's the procedure on how to install it. Take a 13 mil wrench, and I just want to loosen this, because that'll give me the ability to turn it, as you can see. Let's start cranking it over. And I know that I'm going to be at the compression stroke when both valves stop moving, and I feel it coming around. It's coming around. I gotta make sure. Now, theoretically, if I take my wire, you see it's not lining up. But if I turn it, I could line it up. And there, I get it in the hole. This wire's a little thin, actually. I'm gonna put a cotter pin in there. So now you can go ahead, remove the bolt, and this piece comes off. And then you can pull this out. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably at this step right here. I've already pulled it out. I screwed it up. How do I get it back in? So we got the alignment. We're on the compression stroke, top dead center. I don't know if I could. This camera's gonna be able to see, but you could see, hopefully, in there, the oil drive, where that end piece has to fit into, right down there. Purpose of this, to lock it, is to make sure you're in sync. Now, once you install it, your camshaft position sensor should be straight back, as so. So now let's go try to feed this back in. Now, when you put this in, it is possible to be out 180 degrees. But you gotta, like I said, you gotta make sure the sensor can go to the back. So now we're in. I'm gonna leave that hooked up for right now. I'm going to put this clamp on. This is the hold down clamp that's going to hold this in place. And I can pull my pin out. And then I can put my camshaft position sensor on. And a good starting point is to have it point straight back. Now going back to the wiring schematic that I showed you earlier, if you suspect that you have a camshaft position sensor problem, you can look, you got a 5-volt reference wire which is coming from the computer, and it's an orange wire. So you can see right here on the plug right there, you got an orange wire. Of course, your black is sensor ground, and then your tan and yellow is the camshaft position sensor signal right there. So you should check, make sure you got 5 volts coming from the computer at all times with the ignition turned on. And then if you have a scope, I'm not sure if you could hook up a multimeter and measure the signal while you're cranking it, but if you have a scope, it'd be better to connect onto there to verify that indeed the sensor is working. Alright, well, I'm going to end the video there. If you happen to get yourself in a bind where you remove this in the wrong spot and all of a sudden you can't get it back and you can't get it working properly, or you're having all sorts of ignition problems, hopefully this video will help you out. I gave you the schematics on what to check for and how to set up this, so hopefully that'll get you back in the race, get your Jeep back up and running. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here. If you have any questions or comments, post them below and check out my playlist for more Jeep videos. And if you're watching this one, then the LS swap is coming up, so if you're interested in that, make sure you stay tuned. I'll see you guys.